Hey everybody, welcome to River City Media's Beyond the Booth. I'm your host tonight, the Howard Chaney, along with three guys that knows a little bit of everything of the Chattanooga area football and in the valley as well. Joining us tonight is the voice of the Hickson Wildcats, Randy Cunningham, the
Hey,
voice,
and not the founder anymore. Just QB1.
QB1.
the voice of the Whitwell Tigers, Doug Ramsey, and play-by-play of Sequatchie County High School, Jeff Barger. Guys, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Hey, it's good to be here.
It's great to have y'all on.
Thank you for hosting me.
Yeah, Phil Harris may be here shortly, and if he shows up, we'll pop him on and let him join us as well. Guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's talk about the 1A division up there in the Chattanooga area and the Valley and all that with the defending state champs. I think South Pittsburgh Pirates. Uh,
Uh,
They were
State
the
runners
runner-up
up.
last
runner up. Okay. Uh,
won
you
it the year before.
okay.
Yeah.
Should have another great year this season this year. They're one of those teams that never um, rebuilds. They just kind of reload every year. So, Doug, we'll let you get us started off about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, South Pittsburgh with a very successful season last year. No surprise to most of us Valley folk, they end up again in Chattanooga playing for the championship, coming away with the runner-up trophy with a young squad last year. They were really young and just talent everywhere, and I think they've actually added to that talent pool from in the offseason and look for them to be the favorites, probably to be in Chattanooga again from the East again this year, as far as from Single A. Uh, just really strong, as we said. Had a great season last year, as you know, and look for them to be the again contenders to be in Chattanooga again this year.
Randy?
Or is it?
Doug, did you think they were a year ahead of it last year? That what happened last year with them finishing second was maybe the biggest surprise in the Valley?
Probably so. They were young and they started the season kind of slow, as they started off and then uh, as they typically do, build momentum toward the end of the season. You know how it goes, especially with a talented team in single A, as talented as they were. When especially with the schedule that they play with the upper classifications. They schedule a lot of uh, larger schools and stuff. And yeah, they really toward the end of the season gained that momentum and put it all together. And those young players grew up, and they were forced to be reckoned with last year, and look for them to be even better this year.
You know, Howie, the thing that gets me about South Pittsburgh this year, you see them play Silverdale Academy, a team from Chattanooga that should be, and it may be one of the better teams in Chattanooga. Then the next week they turn around and they visit Mr. Barger and the Sequatchie County Indians. I'm not sure you don't have the favorite in 1A and the favorite in 3A in East Tennessee playing each other in week 2.
Yeah. Yeah, that's especially, I mean, Sequatchie County returns a whole lot of talent that was fairly young last year. They do have to replace their quarterback in Sam Evans, but Hunter Minton has proven that he can play well too. But going back to South Pittsburgh, I mean, you guys were kind of talking about it. But I mean, with South Pittsburgh, you're kind of right. They just kind of reload every year. I mean, they've got. I think they had to build onto their trophy case um, of all the gold and silver balls that they've stocked away over the years.
Randy,
But yeah, they were kind of a
You know,
young team last year.
Randy, tell us
Go
a little
ahead.
bit about South Pittsburgh.
the
Well,
thing about South Pittsburgh, Doug can comment a little more, is that district just, Doug, Whitwell is a clear number 2 in that district. Outside of you, South Pittsburgh don't have much competition in the district.
Well, that's true, but there's some teams that are coming on. That Sale Creek is really uh, coming on, and of course with Chattanooga Prep moving up, jumping from 1A to 3A, that kind of puts it between those three. You're going to be as far as the regional championships. You're looking at South Pittsburgh, Whitwell, and Sale Creek would be the three in that region to look for. Whitwell, we lost quite a few last year. We're losing 11 seniors, and they were, very talented bunch. Senior White Davis actually went on to win the wrestling state championship. They're very, very, very uh, athletically talented. There's a lot of skill positions, but they have one of the good things about last season with the Tigers was they had a lot of, at the beginning of the season, it was had a lot of games where young players got a lot of playing time. And so uh, talking to Coach Kilgore just the other day, is kind of excited about some of those youngins that was growing up, and then a couple of new faces that are actually on the sidelines this year that's looking forward to moving up and filling some of those roles. So yeah, I think it being those three between South Pittsburgh, Whitwell, and Sale Creek as far as the region goes, as far as the top three anyway.
So is it safe to say with South Pittsburgh having the young talent that they had last year and everyone coming back and all that they are probably the hands-on favorite to win it 1A this year?
Oh yes, yeah, they're
Yeah.
hands on. I would say so. Yeah, because they've got several even D1. One of the players I actually already signed, to my understanding, with Clemson. They've got D1 and players and D2 players all over that 1A squad. So yeah, they have to be the hands on favorite for the horse to go ball.
Jeff?
Hey, I heard another newspaper guy say, Sequatchie County, South Pittsburgh, you have as many as probably 7 or 8 kids that have a chance to play D1 football on the field at the same time.
Yep, that's true. And back to South Pittsburgh, I kind of echo what Doug's saying. I mean, as far as 1A class, I mean, I I don't know anybody that would bet against them this year because they were fairly young last year, so they got a lot of talent coming back. And I haven't been close enough to know, but I believe Doug. I know that they've kind of added to that talent pool in the off season, so they should be a pretty good force to reckon with, and they will they will be a challenge even for Sequatchie County. I think, but that game is always been. Randall and I have called it, and then I've called it the last couple of years. That game has always been nip and tuck anyway, just because it's over here in the valley, up and down. It doesn't matter really what classification you are. A lot of these kids know each other, and it's a battle when they get on the football field.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that describes the valley better than anybody can say it, Doug. And Jeff, I think Coach Frady up at Bledsoe told me one time that these were gas station games. When you
Yep.
go into the valley, you always playing against people you're going to see at the gas station on Saturday, and you're always going to see them on Thursday. He said
Yep.
you couldn't stop on Thursday night, not here. Hey, how we going to do against Bledsoe County? How we going to do against Sequatchie County? How we going to do against Marion County? And that's valid. And I'll say it if nobody else will. It's a shame that Marion and South Pittsburgh don't play anymore, and that rivalry needs to happen.
It seems like it's a foregone conclusion that we feel like, and it's June, it's still early, but we're at a foregone conclusion that South Pittsburgh is going to take the 1A state title. Who we got? We got other teams in the 1A division that's going to be contending for it as well. Jeff, I'll let you kick us off with this. Who else are some of the 1A teams that you feel like that'll be strong against South Pittsburgh?
Well, I feel like and their name escapes me. Was it Westview? That's the one that won it, that beat South Pittsburgh in the championship.
McKenzie.
That's it. McKenzie. They lost a little bit, but I still expect them to be contenders from the other bracket, and there's uh, like Doug said, there's in the region here. I mean, Sell Creek's a new program, relatively new, and they're just really now starting to try to build. Um, I don't know how competitive or how far they will go, but uh, I think they will be improved. Um, I'm trying to think of who else might give them a go, but I would not be surprised if you don't see a rematch in the single A state championship game of what you saw this year. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, that Memphis technical school that came into and played South Pittsburgh, beat them in the state championship this past year. They
Yep.
too were loaded, and I agree, Jeff. They should be back at the. Wouldn't be surprised if it all plays out. But that's the beauty of high school football, especially 1A, right? I mean, when you get to
Especially
1A,
1A.
that's what I love about it. It's one of the few that hasn't been as affected as some of the larger classifications. You still, I know, especially with Tiger football, how it is. You play with the ones that show up in the halls, as opposed to, they're still, as we're all we all know that there's still those single A schools that are able to. Uh, they're a draw. I mean, they're able to pull in
Yeah.
those talented players from all around. But then you have the majority of those small towns that Friday night. That's what it's reserved for that Friday night
Yep.
football, and uh, just an exciting brand of football. Single A is, in my opinion.
It is, and
You know,
the rural areas, it's a little bit different when the small towns in the rural areas, right? I mean, because uh, as my daddy used to always say, you dance with a girl what brung you,
Yeah,
right? You've got what you got. There's not a whole lot of moving around or recruiting, or where you're in a metropolitan city or something where there's avenues to get to other schools.
the other team that in the East, that there's two teams in the East that I think could contend with South Pittsburgh, but they absolutely destroyed them both in the playoffs. And that's Oliver Springs and Cofield.
Yeah,
Cofield is somebody that's squatting a lot. Uh, they don't look like a 1A team, but when they got to Oliver Springs, they beat Oliver Springs, and then went to South Pittsburgh and got beat 31-7. So
yeah,
you got to think about South Pittsburgh in an off year defeats the second best team in the East 31-7. That says a lot.
yeah.
yeah. That Oliver Springs team too was a physical team. We played them early on in the season last year, and they were just old school physical. Hit you in the mouth and run the ball. They run that wing T, and
Yeah.
they were a good looking football squad. Oliver Springs was, as well as you got to throw Clay County in the mix. I don't have the roster in
Yeah.
front of me now, but they had quite a few seniors on it. But that quarterback they had up there at Clay County, I think he was a Mr. Football finalist, or he was in the running at least. And they threw the ball all over the place. That Adams kid up there. Actually, there's two or
Mhm.
three of those Adams, the Adams family that they like to play over the PA during the games. But that Clay County, you have to throw them in the mix there too.
Yeah.
I was shocked that Oliver Springs got beat in the quarters. That was the team that I picked in the East, and
Mhm.
then Cofield just took them out. Um, I think Cofield. You never know. We didn't see the game, but if I'd have picked it, I would have picked Oliver Springs over Cofield in that quarterfinals.
Well, I saw a little bit of Coalfield last year, right? And uh, they were a good physical team. Sequatchie played them. The biggest thing, I mean, what how Sequatchie beat Coalfield last year was numbers. We
Yeah,
wore them down and took them out in the second half. I mean, the first half, brother, it was a dogfight.
All right, guys, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. I had a little internet issues,
All
but
right.
back, got it going. And Randy, I want to start with you on this one here. We had our hands down favorite. We got our contenders. Do you see a sleeper or surprise team coming through the 1A division?
Yeah, I think somehow, some way, whoever gets out of the East to play between Clay County, Oliver Springs, and Cofield can play against South Pittsburgh in the semifinals is going to be a heck of a football game. Um,
Yep.
Told by somebody in the know that covers South Pittsburgh that this team is better than the one 2 years ago. So that being said, that team walked to a state championship 2 years ago until they met even big McKenzie 2 years ago, who quarterback's now at UT Martin and was just a phenomenal athlete. So I don't know. I still think that you got to line up and beat Clay County, Oliver Springs, or Cofield.
Jeff.
I I kind of agree with him on that. Seeing a couple of those teams play last year, um, it's I don't see where I don't see how I could disagree with that. I mean, Oliver Springs may have a little bit of edge because I think Cofield had uh, a bigger senior class, so I think they've got more to replace. But I'd say it'll come. One of those two will be your sleeper, I think. Now there may be somebody come up in Middle Tennessee that sneaks up and gives us a surprise, but I'd say those are your sleepers.
Doug.
Yeah, I'd kind of agree with that. Oliver Springs. Am impressed with not only just the talent they had, but the style and the coaching staff and the way that the way they run the ball, the way they call the game. Really good coaching staff there, and I wouldn't be surprised if that would be my sleeper team as well. Oliver Springs.
Hey, guys, y'all have any closing remarks on the 1A division before we move up to the 2A?
Don't sleep on the Whitwell Tigers. They got one of the better staffs in the area. Now, sometimes Whitwell's got to find players, but they got a staff that can coach kids up. Not picking Whitwell to win the state, but it's a good staff over there at Whitwell now.
Yep.
Truly do. Coach Kilgore does a great job along with his assistants, and those kids are some of the hardest working young men, and just really just good all around kids. And it's the program at Whitwell, as we said, a lot of young kids got a lot of playing time last year. I know with losing 11 seniors, you had a lot of skill positions that lost and some linemen, but you got some good players coming back as well. So and look look forward to getting this thing kicked off in a few weeks.
Jeff.
Yeah, I just kind of echo that. I mean, Whitwell does have a good coaching staff, and uh, they get the most out of the players that they have. So uh, I wouldn't make any whole lot of predictions on them, but I would never count them out.
Awesome.
It's
You
just
guys.
those high schools have 200 kids in them at max,
Yeah,
and they find
Yeah.
players. That's it.
yeah.
All right, let's move on to the 2A division with the defending champs, Marion, coming in. Of course, they've lost a lot, but they've got some other more competition coming in because some people's dropped down from 3A down to 2A. And Jeff, I'll let you kick off the 2A division.
Yeah, well, Marion did lose quite a bit, but you know, and they've still got competition in the valley with Bledsoe County, uh, and Bledsoe County was a tough team last year, and now they did lose a little bit, but they have some really good talent coming back uh, this year, and as far as when you're looking at the valley, um, I wouldn't. I I would kind of lean a little bit towards Bledsoe because they played them tough last year. Um, but you can't count out Marion County. Marion County is a lot like South Pittsburgh in that they continue to reload year after year. They've got a history of being really good. So between those, and I also think, help me remember, there was another one dropped down to 2A, wasn't there? Locally,
Grundy. Grundy went down to
Grundy.
2.
Yeah, that was it. Now, Grundy struggled mightily last year, but they actually started playing better football towards the end of the season, and I'm pretty sure I think they got quite a bit coming back. But as far as locally, I would really be interested in watching the Marion County Bledsoe County football game this year.
Jeff, who do you have? I know it's early, but who do you have winning the 2A state?
Gosh,
Yeah,
there's
I'm putting everybody on the spot tonight, so I might as well
yeah,
get used to it.
yeah. I'll probably get shot for this. I don't see Marion County repeating. Uh, but I really haven't followed 2A enough to know. But and who was it that was in the title game last year with Marion County?
There's 2 I think you're thinking of. Milan, who lost to 14-7.
Yeah,
And who destroyed the good Bledsoe that got destroyed by Marion in the semis. And I think
yep,
York's got a tough.
yeah. York has always been tough. I even go back to and this is going way back at time when I played, right? And we played York, and they've been good ever since. But I would say that's probably the from the east anyway, and the west side. I really don't know who could come out of that bracket over there.
Okay, Randy, 2A, who do you think?
Well, I'm telling you, I like York and I like Bledsoe, and I like the winner of York and Bledsoe to get out of that area and get to that regional run. Marion's a great football team, but they're replacing so many Pickets. Let's just say it that way. They replaced a Pickett at quarterback, placed Sam Pickett, the wide receiver. It's interesting to see what Coach Starkey does with Marion this year, but that bunch from Milan over in West Tennessee, they're going to be hard to deal with. I
Yeah,
think I'll go with Milan to win the state, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody, maybe it was not Westview, but somebody else played them to. I got it here. Milan and Farley. Milan 21-16 to Farley. I like whoever comes out of the West. I won't put it past Marion to come out of the East, but I kind of like whoever comes out of the West in 2A.
yeah,
Okay, Doug.
Yeah, that Marion got quite a bit to replace, especially up front in the trenches. As far as skill players and skill positions, they got some special kids. That Humphrey kid that last year he was backup quarterback. I'm not sure where he'll land at this year, but he's got burning speed. They got a lot as far as skill position players. They're really still stacked as far as the running back room is really deep. But that line, it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to replace the line, both the offense and defensive lines, and see how that comes into play. Because as far as linebackers and skill positions and offensive, it's going to be they should be good. Again, that Bledsoe Marion game is a big game, and with York as well. It's already been talked about. Those three from the East. Uh, Looking at Milan, I'm not for sure if that. I think that running back for Milan last year was a senior. I'm not for sure, but I think he was a senior. So if they graduate him, I think it might be tough for Milan to get back there. But still, yet very well coached football team. You never count them out either. And then Farley making their way back. You know, those two from the West that I would think, and then coming out of the East, it's going to be between like Randall and Jeff were saying, uh, between the Bledsoes, the Marions, and the York Institute.
And that's just incredible to me. How much we're talking about state championships, and we're going to talk about all three, the 1A, 2A, 3A, and how they've either ran through the valley or are going to run through the valley. Even last year, with Alcoa finally having to move up, they had to come to Sequatchie County. So if you've never seen Sequatchie Valley football, then I can't tell you what it means. No smaller area has a better run unless it's Sand Mountain than that valley does.
I'm not going to compare them to South Pittsburgh, but Marion is another team that kind of just reloads every year. They don't have a whole lot of rebuilding, but they just kind of reload year in and year out. Doug, we're going to stick with you and stay in the 2A. We talked about our favorites. Who do you feel like maybe some contenders coming up that wasn't mentioned?
See, coming out of 2A, we've always got the Forest coming from out of Middle Tennessee over on the way. They kind of fell off in the last, and then you got the and I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, those Middle Tennessee teams, most of the times, they're kind of there toward the quarters or the toward the in the playoffs. But as far as 2A, Trousdale, which traditionally is power, it was way off last year. They're never down for a long period of time, so it wouldn't surprise me to see Trousdale come back in the East to be a lot better football team than they were last year. They were uncharacteristically bad. They were not good last year, and that's not like Trousdale. They're usually a powerhouse. So it'd be interesting to see how they rebound from the season that they had last year.
That's a very good point. Very good point.
Go ahead, Randy.
No, that's just a great point. That's
I've
forgotten about
with your contenders, with your 2A contenders.
Well,
maybe
now that
mentioned.
Trousdale, I'm gonna throw them into the loop. You know, I don't have any shocking names in 2A. I just think up the road from Sequatchie County, Bledsoe County played so great early in the year. And New York Institute, I really like one of those teams to make a run, and I never settle out a Marion County. I don't know, besides Trousdale, anybody that'll make a huge jump. I would like to see Grundy County being competitive at 2A. They have been run through the ringers at 3A, and you hope they can find a level where they can win a few football games. But I'll go with Forest, Trousdale, York, Bledsoe. One of those would be my sleeper in the East.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't. I mean, just kind of going through it, and they named off the others, and is and one of you guys can help me because I've been trying to track all of the different changes. Good Pasture. Are they
Yes.
2A?
They will be 2A. Yes.
Yeah. So that could be also a sleeper because they're a traditional powerhouse. But York, kind of looking at what they've got coming back and where they finished the year, I think they're going to be hard to handle. I do. And And I don't think they're being talked about a whole lot other than we are here, but I think they'll be hard to handle.
That 42-0 against Marion, I think is one of the more overstated games. And we know
Yeah.
from going to Marion 3 years ago and got beat 45-0 with Sequatchie County. If you
Yeah.
go in there, they get their momentum rolling. It's a hard place to play.
It is a hard place to play.
Okay, closing out the 2A region here. Doug, any last thoughts on the 2A?
Yeah, just that the third game of the season, we can tell you a little bit about how Marion is as far as from the Tiger fans, because the first time in several years, Whitwell and Marion are going to be meeting on the gridiron again. So they're going to be coming to Whitwell for a third game of the season. And so that's from our perspective, we'll get a view as to see how good they're going to be this year as far as from the standpoint. Would learn it very easy, but that's coming off now. Get this, week before it's coming off of Bledsoe. So whatever Bledsoe, second game of the season, Marion County for the third. So it's Tigers going to get tested very early and very very quickly. Those young kids are
They
going to grow up very very quickly.
they will for sure.
Well, you know
Was
that could
Auburn
be
busy?
that could be good for them. That way, they can
Yes.
see what they need to do early on and make the changes before the playoff run rolls around.
Well, and anytime a two, of course, the game of Bledsoe is away, so got to travel to Pikeville for that one. But that game against Marion at home, and again, anytime teams meet, in the Sequatchie Valley, we say it all the time. The old SVC, whenever you get two teams together, there's so much rivalry there. So much, if somebody gets up, to that the point was made a while ago, whoever can gain momentum, can. And who wants it the most? A lot of times it comes down to that, because we know that it's not just all X's and O's, but we know that momentum comes in play, and how that psychologically, and how that the psyche is a big part of football, and it all is a lot of that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Randy, your closing thoughts on the 2A division?
I think they nailed it. 2A is I've seen a lot of 2A football, and it's kind of strange. 2A to me may be the hybrid of 3 and 1. You've got smaller rosters, but you start getting a few more athletes. And a couple of years ago, I think Bledsoe had 50 something kids dressed out in 2A football. So, 2A schools can be 400 or 500 kids. I think that's cut off about 400. So, I think folks have a hard time understanding how small South Pittsburgh Whitwell truly is in their enrollment, and I mean, makes a big jump when you double your kids up to 2A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff, closing thoughts?
Yeah, just kind of just batting off what everybody else has touched on. I think 2A, especially with the shuffling, because and I may be a little bit biased because of where I come from and who I announce for, right? Because I've said for years that 3A was one of the most competitive regions or classifications in Tennessee. Because when you start moving on up, there's um, other schools that's in the 4A and the 5A and 6A that there's really only a handful of schools that really kind of handle their business. And 3A was kind of that way. But I think now with the reclassification and the shuffling, I see 2A as one of those really, really competitive divisions. I'm not going to say there's a lot of great teams, but there's a lot of good teams, good hard-nosed football teams in 2A.
All right. Last but not least, we're going to go to the 3A division, and I think most of y'all know a little bit about the 3A division. And Randy, I want to let you get us kicked off on the 3A division.
Well, I'm gonna say the thing that everybody is gonna say. Thank God Alcoa is gone from 3A after 7 championships, and the TSS finally made a move up. And it's a shame they only went to 4A. Uh, and to expand on what Jeff says, I spent the last 2 years in 4A. 3A is better than 4A locally in East Tennessee. Um, I'm at a 4A school, and the 4As in the area are not as good as the 3As. Um, I think this is the year. If Sequatchie County is ever going to win a state, you're talking about a kid that's been in Jack Evans that's got a Florida offer. Harrison Smith got an I think he's got an Air Force and an Army offer. Um, the best football player is the middle linebacker, and he's only 5'11" and ain't got quite the offers the other boys have, but he's maybe the best football player. Hunter is going to be a phenomenal quarterback. I love Sam Evans, and it's going to be tough to replace Sam. But last year during that run to the semifinals, Sam got hurt versus Giles County, and it was Hunter that made that run in the playoffs.
Yep.
But 3A, I think Sequatchie's a primary favorite. But let me give you one sleeper right now. And they're the team that's probably been held down most by the Alcoa being in 3A, and that's Gatlinburg Pittman. That's a traditional power. They've always matched up a little bit with with Alcoa, and it's probably the only team in the Knoxville area that could play on the same fields as Alcoa. If you told me Alcoa and Sequatchie ends up in the East bracket against each other, I would not be surprised. Um, but I think the best team in the state will come down. I hate to say it, but I still think Westview may be the best team who got beat by Alcoa last year. Westview will probably start as the number one team in the state. Sequatchie will start 2 or 3. But in 3A, the power is in this area and then in Memphis. So you've got a lot of good schools out in Memphis and a lot of good schools here. And so far, the power has always been Alcoa over here. But I think those Memphis schools, always like Huntland and Westview, always made it, but always lost to Alcoa.
Yep.
Sorry, went on my rant. I'm just glad Alcoa. Hey, I got Alcoa in 4A this year. I thought I can't get rid of them. That's all I'm gonna say. They come to 4A to about just destroy my life in 4A now.
All they do is reload. So yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Okay, Doug, 3A.
Yeah, Sequatchie County, I mean, they have to be, especially coming out of the East, got to be one of the odds-on favorite for to be in Chattanooga with all that the returning players that they have coming off that great season that they had last year. And giving Alcoa for the first half a run for the money, right? And that's a tall tale. We all know how the Alcoa is, with the numerous players and all the three deep skill position players that they had. Not to just to jump on the Alcoa uh, band so much, but it's those teams that, especially in high school, again, to my point, that's why I love high school football so much. It's those teams that learn to early on how to play as a team and can come together. I know coaches preach that all the time, that roster looks good, from top to bottom, and all those star players. And whenever, but those coaches have the toughest jobs each week of trying to say, making sure Johnny is not too high, that he doesn't think too much of himself, but also, keeping him humble, but then also keeping him hungry. And that's a test to good coaches and the way that they're able to do that. And those are the ones that hoist the ball at the end of the season. Those coaches can find that. And I think Sequatchie County's on the right track to being able to do that.
Yep.
So, Doug, you got Sequatchie possibly winning it all.
Yes, I'd say Sequatchie probably playing for it, and yes, and then to Randall's point, Westview, it's with the Memphis side, with the West, you never know, especially coming out of Memphis, because uh, just on historical things through the years, you can look back and see how that that pendulum kind of switches over there. It'll go from one side to the other, from one school to the next, and you see those players that kind of migrate from one school to the next in Memphis. Depends on where they all landed at in the off season. So that's just my personal opinion to see how that all shakes out. But with the, it's really West West Tennessee football, especially the Memphis area, is a lot different than Sequatchie Valley in some ways. But it's it's whichever one of those teams out of the West, out of Memphis, is where the players land. That's probably where that you're going to see playing in Chattanooga.
The original transfer portal is Memphis high school football.
Okay, Jeff. We're not on a national network or nothing, so you don't have to be biased. You can be biased if you want to. You don't have to, say, "Oh shucks, geez, I don't know," and all this. You say what you want to say.
Well, and there's no doubt. I think Sequatchie County's got a really good shot. They've they're bringing. They didn't lose a whole lot, like I said earlier. They do have to replace Sam, but in the playoffs, Sam got hurt early, right before the playoffs, and Hunter Minton filled that void pretty well. And it's one thing to ask your sophomore quarterback who's been starting as your wide receiver to come in and play under center in the regular season, but then when you ask him to do that at playoff time, there's a little added pressure, and Hunter performed really well. So and as Randall mentioned, they've got 2 or 3 kids, several kids that's, if they don't get D1 offers, they will definitely be D2 or playing somewhere. And I say all that to say that even with the shakeup and everything, 3A is still probably going to be one of the most competitive districts or classifications in the state, because even in our region, and I guarantee you it'll come down to this game. It'll be Sequatchie County, Giles County, who wins the region. Giles County was really good last year, and they don't lose a whole lot either. And Giles County made a little short run in the playoffs, so I look for them. I know I'm getting a little ahead of it, but I look for Giles County to be kind of my dark horse to kind of make it there, because I think they're that good. And then as we talked about 3A and even out in West Tennessee, Memphis. Memphis had the swapping of schools before NIL and everything else, so it'll just depend on who who accumulates the talent out there. But Westview, I don't, if they keep half of what they had last year, that they'll be back in Chattanooga. So, but my pick to come out of the region, simply because I'm pretty sure I'll have to look at the schedule. I think Giles County comes to Sequatchie County this year. I can't remember, or the other way around.
Other way, we go to Giles.
Yeah, we go to Giles.
Y'all go.
Yeah. So that's a game that everybody in Sequatchie County ought to have circled, because that will be for #1 seed in the region, I do believe.
Jeff, you touched on it a little bit. Just go ahead and stay with you. You told us, who you feel like is going to be the ones, and you kind of touched on it just a little bit about the contenders. Go ahead and tell us more about some of the contenders that you think will be coming out of the 3A.
Well, like I said, I kind of touched on it. Giles County, I think, is a really talented football team that will be a very tough game for Sequatchie County. I also think I don't know how they all shook out in West Tennessee, but I know Westview, and aren't they the ones that played Alcoa last year? Was it Westview? I know they're returning quite a few starters. So outside of that, Sequatchie County's schedule is I still think on how it's going to boil down. I can't remember what team we picked up in our region, but I think that would be the main ones I would go with. I don't know if what could be in Middle Tennessee that might give them a run.
Okay,
East
Randy.
Nashville.
East Nashville.
East Nashville's loaded. I'm going to throw out a local team that I think a lot of people sleep on. Last year was not very good, but historically, the Tyner Rams in 3A will be a powerhouse. They've been at 2A, but now they're at 3A, and I think Tyner has a chance to win that other 3A region that's Central and Tyner and the Brainerd and the Chattanooga area schools.
You're right,
like
Randall. You're right, Randall. I forgot Tyner moved to 3A. I thought they were still 2A, but yeah, you're right.
Tyner got handled by Giles County, and you're right about Giles. Historically, probably one of the best programs. I like Westview. I like East Nashville. Anything less than a Chattanooga appearance for Sequatchie will be a disappointment. But Tyner being in 3A scares me. GP being in 3A scares me. Meigs County, we always overlook Meigs County, but every year they go 8-2, 9-1, and they're there. So there is more. Let me say this the correct way. There is more depth in 3A than maybe some of the other regions and the other levels, because you find. I think in 2A you could probably wrap the contenders into a top 5 or a 6.
Yep.
But in 3A, there's 20 different teams that can win 3A.
Yeah.
If you're setting up the list, that's a long way to fall.
Okay, Doug.
Yeah, I agree with the guys. Randall kind of stole my thunder there. That Meigs County was a real traditionally, contender as far as they have been from single A, double A, and now in 3A. Made it all the way to quarters last year. And with Sequatchie County putting them out, so they're gonna be right there. Can't look over them. One of the others too that was down just a little bit last year. Watertown is always traditionally a power, and they're a really tough contender too in that 3A division. Watertown is not a place you want to have to take your team to, of course, with the but that's they were a little bit off last year, but traditionally Watertown is in the mix too. But
Yep.
but all those along those lines, that's from the AAA. That's what the way I see it anyway.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I was just going to say, Doug, you reminded me of the H2O boys. That was a long trip.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard to get there from here.
It's hard to get there from here.
We made that trip a couple of years ago, didn't we, Barger?
We did. We drove down the winding long road.
Yeah. That 3A, you've got some teams at the top you think's going to win, but when you start naming all those teams right under in 3A, boy, that's a lot of football teams. That's championship level teams.
That's really good. Really, really good.
Doug, I'm sorry.
And that's the reason, against nobody, I say 3A is better than 4 because I don't know that there's that level of team at 4A.
Yeah.
All right, Doug, I'm gonna start with you real quick. A sleeper team in 3A to watch out for.
Well, you also got the Pigeon Forge that is out there too. I mean, through the years they've
Yeah.
had some good talent up there in Pigeon Forge, coming out of uh, surprisingly they're actually they were out of the West last year, uh, but I probably a sleeper coming out of there. Then you got the Kingstons too, but probably my sleeper may be, just looking at the Pigeon Forge, with Alcoa out of the mix now, coming from the other side. When you look down the, and of course with the on in the East, that again probably either Meigs County or Watertown for the sleeper coming out of the East.
Jeff, you got a sleeper coming out?
Um, Doug kind of stole them. I'd say from the East. Uh, you know, I've seen them boys play, and I don't think they lost a whole lot. As it would be like a Watertown, um, and and that's just saying a straight up sleeper because I think Giles County will be there, um, and you know, uh, what's the team, Randall? You talked about the one up out of Knoxville, Pittman.
Pittman and then Pigeon GP. Yes.
Yeah, GP. Yeah, I'd say one of those would be your sleeper or Watertown.
All right, Randall.
East Nashville. They just barely lost in the semis last year. I don't know, and I've read that East Nashville's loaded. So we always talk about Memphis, not really Nashville in 3A. I'm gonna go East Nashville to get to Chattanooga. That's my sleeper.
Yeah.
And a quick yes or no: do you think everybody in 3A threw a party when they found out that Alcoa was moving up to 4A?
No doubt, no doubt.
No doubt.
I talked to Coach Rivers at Hickson, and he's like, I don't care to put them in our district, but our region. Let me tell you, I was glad they weren't in our region. That I was afraid we were going to get Alcoa in our region because we have Loudon and Sweetwater in this Chattanooga region, and I thought, well, they might just drop Alcoa in the Chattanooga region. It turned out that they didn't, but let me tell you that the coaches in 4A, they're not afeared of Alcoa, but Jeff and I know from experience, watching those 5 charter buses show up at your high school and football players walk off like they're from the University of Tennessee, 110
Yep.
deep, in a band that's 300 people, and there's only 500 people in the high school. It's pretty intimidating.
Yeah. Well, three of those chartered buses is their band.
Yeah.
I
I've
got
never
it.
seen a band.
But yeah, but I would say I'll put it this way because I know some of the coaches in the area, and most of the coaches are kind of like Ric Flair, right? To be the man, you got to beat the man.
That's
But
right.
there's some fans. I know in Sequatchie County that was ready to throw a party when Alcoa left
All right,
and
Jeff.
moved up.
I'm going to call you out on that. If you're going to do Ric Flair, you got to do it right now.
Um,
Woo!
woo! That you want the woo or the to be the man? You got to beat the man.
Hey, Howie, I'm out of the valley now, but I've been privileged in my life to call the DeKalb County Game of the Week, where I saw everybody up and down Sand Mountain. Then I spent time at South Pittsburgh and also Sequatchie in the Valley. And I don't know. I don't know that there's two better high school areas than Sand Mountain in Alabama, where you got Fife and Pisgah and Sylvania and Geraldine and then up here, you've got South Pittsburgh, Marion, Whitwell. Um, it's a different kind of football player at both schools. Hard nosed. I talked to Coach Sean Cooley a lot over here at Hickson, and he played at Sequatchie, and he talks about, hey, we're going to play volleyball. We're going to play volleyball in the third quarter. And when they say that, Jeff, Doug, you know exactly what they mean when they say they're going to play volleyball. That's physical football.
Yep.
Hi guys, we've kept y'all nearly an hour. I got one more closing thing, and then we'll let y'all get out of here. And I'm going to start with Randy on this. Randy, tell us a little bit about what Hickson's going to do this year.
I couldn't hear you, buddy.
Tell us a little bit about what Hickson's going to do this year.
Oh, well, Hickson is interesting to me. I love the Hickson Wildcats. Last year we went 7-3, or 2 years ago, made the playoffs, was a good run. Being at Hickson is not watching a program that you expect it to be always great. For years, Hickson was the worst football program in Chattanooga. I think both Doug and Jeff would agree. Hickson was a school you went 1-9 or 0-10 at every year. We went 3-7 last year, led in 7 football games, and blew them. Not to mention now, Luke Finch, the quarterback at Hickson, is now a wide receiver at Sequatchie County. Luke went home to be with his family. His dad's from the area. So Luke is over there. So Hickson has a brand new tailback, brand new wide receivers, brand new quarterback. But I watched them scrimmaged against Ottawa, and I think Ottawa and Hickson are both vastly improved. I think if Hickson can make the playoffs, it's a big jump forward. 4A is not terribly strong right here. Red Bank's kind of down. Saudi Daisy went 8-2, but they lost a ton of people. So to get through 4A in Chattanooga is not impossible. Loudoun's the big monster for Hickson every year. Loudoun's kind of the Giles County of that region. So, you beat the teams you're supposed to, you're going to get in the playoffs, and that would be a good year. I told Coach Rivers he only had 15 shows to do, so we dream big. But I think Hickson's realistic goal is to get a playoff game, get into the playoffs, and possibly host. That would be huge for Hickson.
Okay, Jeff, tell us a little bit about Sequatchie.
Well, I think the expectations are really high for Sequatchie, and based on what they did last year, what they've got coming back now, it's going to be a little bit different, right? Because 3A's kind of shuffled around, and I think outside of Bledsoe County, which is their first game and always their toughest game, right? Just simply fact because they're neighboring counties and a little bit of history. Years ago, they used to fight at the county line, depending on who won this football game. So that gives a little context of what the rivalry's like. But realistically, I think Sequatchie is expecting to come out on top in the region and host playoff games and give themselves a chance. And I think everybody, I mean, we talked about it a little bit. I think they're probably going to be favorites in to go forward. But you still got to strap on that helmet, tighten up them cleats, and play football.
Dougie
Hey,
Fresh.
I've done a Blitzo Sequatchie game. I've done a South Pittsburgh Marion game. I've done a Fife, whoever it be game. I, I'm not sure. I always say that South Pittsburgh Marion was the #1 rivalry in high school football, but Sequatchie County Blitzo is a close second, right behind it.
Yeah.
All right, Dougie Fresh. How about your Tigers of Whitwell? What are you expecting from them this year?
Well, as we talked about earlier, losing 11 seniors in a single leg squad, and 11 of those seniors with the majority of them starters. But again, the season kind of flip flops this year. Last year they started the season strong with the 5 game winning streak. Competition was a little bit less than what it is this year. As we look down the schedule, the slate of schedule, 3 2A schools on the lineup. I think the ceiling for the Tigers this year is probably a 7-3. Will be the ceiling for them. But again, whenever it comes to Friday nights, you never know. Whenever you tee it up. So uh, those are some powerhouse teams. 3 of those teams that we talked about being contenders for to be in Chattanooga. So the Tigers, again, with rebuilding here, just depends on how quickly those young ones can grow up. But I have a lot of confidence in Coach Kilgore. He's doing a phenomenal job in his second year to do what he did last year with the team and with a great group of guys that was able to pass on a lot of good experience. And like I said, ceiling's probably 7-3 for the Tigers, but who knows? Once we kick it off, anything's possible.
The winner of Sale Creek Whitwell host of game. Would that be your opinion?
I'm sorry.
The winner of Sale Creek and Whitwell will host the game in the playoffs.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I would think too.
Yes. Yeah, as far as region goes, they'll be right there. Like we talked about earlier, the top 3. Copper Basin was way down last year. They got a lot of ground to make up. I'm not saying they can't, because we know Copper Basin, they're able to flip it over in 1 year as well. But then that Sale Creek with Coach Fitzgerald up there, he's got Sale Creek. Uh, they're a lot. They're not the Sale Creek as that they started at. I'll just put it that way. They're a lot more physical, and any kind of a team, in my opinion, with Coach Fitzgerald at the helm, they're always going to give you a run for your money. But I'd say that, yeah, South Pittsburgh, Whitwell, Sale Creek, and then the bottom of the region being rounded up by Copper Basin and Lookout Valley.
Awesome,
I would think
guys.
so too.
Guys, we appreciate your time. We're going to get out of here. Been here for an hour. This is early predictions. I understand that. I know that. Here we are, mid-June. Hadn't really had any practices yet, but hey, before you know it, we're going to be sitting here on Tuesdays and talking about who just got done playing this past Friday night. So it'll
Yep.
be here before you realize it. So
It will.
Hey, Howie, I'd like Jeff and Doug, we'd love to get y'all back about mid-year just for a Valley update. Just about mid-year, have a show. Come on. Where's your
Yeah.
team at? Where we're going? Part of that schedule. I'd love to get you both back.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be good as long as Sequatchie County's winning that first half. I don't know how chipper I'll be if if we get it handed to us a couple of games, but yeah, we can do that for sure.
Yeah, come back and show how foolish our choices was preseason, right?
Yeah,
See how bad we look.
Word.
I don't even know
We
why Randy's inviting you back. He's just a guest tonight.
Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Yeah, I do.
Take a lot of liberty, isn't it?
I do have one story though, Randall, and I know I may have told you this before, but you was talking about Sand Mountain and Fife, Alabama. You know, I played with a guy at UTC from Fife, Alabama, and that was Donnie Traylor. He was a quarterback.
You know, I remember you telling me that. Paul Benefield, Coach Paul Benefield, who comes on here every now and then, he's won so many. He's going to be going the way of Alcoa soon.
Yeah.
You can't win every year, but they've already made him step up. Where's he at now? How he's 3-8?
Yeah, they're 3A
They're
for they're 3A for at least one more year, and then this is the year that we do the numbers and find out where we'll be at for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
We
it's all
just
about
got
the
set.
it's all about the numbers down here, and but if you we do have a team in Alabama that's very similar to Alcoa that they have won so many state titles that they have made them move up in classification because of that. All their other sports have stayed down, but football has moved up.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, anybody have any closing remarks before we let y'all go?
So I just
Good to see you,
appreciate you
boys.
guys having us. Appreciate you guys having us.
No, we appreciate y'all coming on. We're going to have you back on again. Our other guest over here has already invited you back, so
Yeah.
I guess he'll want to be on here too when y'all come back.
Yep.
I'll just be a guest. I like this guesting side better than hosting. Or over here.
So, it's something we always do, and I'm not going to let y'all guys get away without or doing this. Uh, and we'll start with Jeff. Is anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
I don't know if they'll see it, but I told them I was going to be on it. But I've got two brothers that are high school football coaches. Chad Barger's at East Ridge, and David is now the new offensive coordinator for Cleveland. He went back to Cleveland, Randall. And when
Can't
they had the
believe it.
coaching change over there, he went back to Cleveland. Yep.
Chad Barger has been on this network more than any human being ever. So Chad knows where to find us. I'll put it that way.
But, well, he
No
likes to
grudge.
talk. He likes to talk more than I do too. So
He likes to talk, but that's
Okay, Doug, you got any shout
Yeah,
outs?
I just want to give a shout out to all the guys down at all the Tigers, and especially Coach Kilgore. I appreciate them welcoming me on board last year the way that they did, and having access to that program. Just a phenomenal group of coaches that are down there that are doing a great job. And just a shout out to the Whitwell coaching staff and all the fine kids there at Whitwell High School.
Last but not least, Randall, you have any shout outs?
I do. I want to shout out, just like Doug did, the Hickson Wildcats. I came into this program and they don't even have radio. They let me do whatever I want. Coach Rivers, Coach Cooley gives me complete access. And Anna Lee Cunningham is a trainer for the boys football team this year. So I want to shout out the Hickson Wildcats for. I miss my family at Sequatchie County. Jeff knows it that
yep.
I miss it so bad after 10 years there, but I've been treated so good by the Hickson Wildcats. I just want to thank Coach Rivers, Coach Montgomery, Coach Cooley, all the guys over there who just they won't let me call a play, Jeff. I don't know why they won't do that, but
They won't
they
let
let
you
me do
do that.
anything.
All right, guys, we appreciate your time. Sorry we kept you so long, but we'll let y'all get out of here. We will see y'all in mid-September for a mid-season review and see how well. I took notes. We'll see how well y'all predictions will come around at mid-September.
All right.
Sounds good.
Uh,
I
Doug,
know
that'll
Sounds
be
good.
your midterms. That'll be your midterm results in
Midterm
mid-September.
results out. All
So
right. Thank you guys.
good deal. All right,
Thanks.
thank
guys,
you.
thanks for joining us. This is Beyond the Booth, River City Media. Good night. God bless everyone.